Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's better on draft.
And we are live. Welcome to the Michigan Series number 6. My name is Ken. Better on Draft. We appreciate you all joining us. I cannot stress it enough. We have had over 5,000 downloads. Thank you so much to everyone downloading the Michigan Brewery Map app. We appreciate it. We're actually lucky enough to have one of the advertisers on here today. No, he's not paying us to be on here. Obviously, we're just thankful that he's helping us make this dream come true while we try to help get butts into seats, especially for this weekend as 25% opening for Michigan dine-in only. I know a lot of people that are still having the patios. You're going to still be able to sit down and drink on the patios, so make sure you bundle up just in case you're stuck outside, but go support those breweries. My name is Ken. Let's welcome all the rest of the hosts. Wendy, how you doing? You're muted.
You're muted.
Apparently, I'm brand new, and I still haven't figured out the mute function yet. I'm fantastic. I do not like the cold, but professionally, I love the cold because it means we get a lot of work. So I am enjoying and celebrating our snow with city-built snow on Monroe. It is a black currant and raspberry or blackberry sour. It's fantastic.
All right, moving along, getting the other two hosts in. Dan, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, doing good. Thank you.
What do you got over there drinking?
I'm drinking a beer you've actually had before. You may not remember it, but I've got the old bacon and eggs from Pizza Port.
Bacon and eggs from Pizza Port. Awesome. What kind of beer is that?
It is a Imperial Coffee Porter.
Sounds delicious. That's probably why I've had it before. Robert, what's going on? What are you drinking?
Yo. Right now I am in honor of Nick, I am double fisting. Right now I am drinking a Weihenstephaner, if I even pronounce that correctly, which is a double Doppelbock. And I am also in honor of Detroit City Distillery, I am drinking some Hunchkide vodka.
Hey.
There you go. I learned as a Polish American this year that the food city chicken is not actually a Polish food. It's an American food created by Polish immigrants in the United States. So if you go to Poland, apparently they have no idea what city chicken is, except for what they've learned from us Americans, because veal and pork were very, very cheap in comparison to chicken during the Depression, so they created city chicken. That's what I learned. Now, our guest, you want to talk about Poland. Our guest is, let me have himself introduce himself, tell us what brewery he currently works for and owns, and kind of give us the timeline of you and where you're from, and welcome to Michigan. You're muted, Linus.
Number one mistake of Zoom calls. So I'm Linus de Paoli. Actually, that's the right way to say my name, but Linus is okay, don't worry. So I'm right now, I just ran to my office here in Wyoming, Michigan. That's in the outskirts of Grand Rapids at Kitzingen Brewery. It's a brewery me and my wife, we just bought the brewery about a couple of months ago. We're still working on the ownership transition right now, but this is where I am. Kitzingen Brewery in Wyoming, Michigan.
Awesome. Now, you're not originally from Wyoming, Michigan. Where are you from?
So, yes, you're right. As you could tell by my accent, I'm not from Wyoming, Michigan. I'm not American, actually. I'm Brazilian. Both of me and my wife, we are Brazilian. But we have lived in Germany since March 2015. So we moved from Brazil to Germany. And then last December, we took our cases, our packs, and moved here to West Michigan.
Now, you were brewing prior to coming to Kitzingen. Where were you brewing at?
So I was working at a small brewery in Bonn, Germany, which is Bonn was the former capital of West Germany before the reunification. Is on the west of the country, and it was a small brewery called Aomania that was founded and owned by one of the pioneers of a craft brewery movement in Germany, well, the modern craft brewery movement in Germany. That is Fritz Wolfing. So.
What is the craft beer movement in Germany right now, and how does it like match up towards maybe the old school brewers who are still true to style, true to the original laws of beer?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting topic, Ken, because if you look at craft beer definition here in the US, most of the German breweries would be qualified as craft breweries. But I think when you look at the traditional breweries like Weihenstephan or the small breweries in Bamberg, in Franconia, they are not doing like modern beer styles, IPAs and stouts and all the crazy shit that's going around in the US for about 25 to 30 years. So I like to tell that there are the traditional family-owned breweries and the modern craft beer movement that actually started about 10 years ago. So I would say it's in its infancy compared to what happens in the US right now. So we have a lot of small breweries that were founded by people who are really passionate about beer, and they are brewing really good, high quality modern beer styles. So IPAs, New England style IPAs, barrel aged stouts, pastry stouts, and sours. So they're very creative, they're very innovative, but it's still a niche within a niche compared to the traditional breweries. Uh, yeah, whereas the traditional breweries, I mean, they have their audience, they have their their customers. They've been brewing the same beers for hundreds of years, and they are the type of people that say, if I screw up my great grandfather beer recipe and I bankrupt the family's business, nobody's gonna forgive me. So they stick to what they have been doing just for the sake of tradition.
What is like what has the culture shock been now that you've been here for a couple months, in comparison to Germany and the drinkers versus Michigan and our drinkers?
Well, I guess the biggest culture shock is just diversity. I mean, here in the U.S., there's uh, so much choice, not just in brands but also in beer styles. In Germany, if you are outside of the craft beer niche, you go to a bar or a restaurant to have like two beers as options, usually a Pilsner or a Hefeweizen, and that's it. Well, unless you're in the south of Germany. So just the sheer amount of options and diversity that you guys that we have here is amazing, and that's actually thanks to some post-prohibition laws that make the situation so unique in the U.S.
Now, what is the German take on American craft beer? Because we've talked to like last week we had Parish Brewing on Andrew Godley talking about how the people in Japan go crazy for the American beer, especially the West Coast IPA, which we learned a few years ago when we did our summer solstice show at Kunin. What is the German take on American craft beer?
So for the craft beer drinkers in Germany, I mean, they dig everything that comes from the U.S. I mean, the U.S. craft beer market is the biggest reference for craft beer drinkers, and also craft beer brewers in Germany. Um, a lot of the brewers will try to mimic beers that are being done here, especially New England style IPAs. I think that's the biggest thing going on there right now. But if you go to the traditional beer drinkers, they when you say American beer to them, they only think Bud Light. So you really have to educate the traditional German beer drinkers that there's a lot more than just Bud Light out here.
Now, one thing I was kind of curious about was obviously with Kitzinger. I mean, from what I was reading, that Kitzinger had been open since 2015. Obviously, you just purchased the brewery, but from what I've seen is that they've always had a big focus on those German-style beers. And I'm a fan of the Marzens, the Maibachs. Obviously, I'm drinking a Doppelbock right now. I'm curious that with now moving into the role of being an owner, that with the German styles and what you're seeing with how most Americans have been drinking craft beer, are you going to stick into that, that area of just sticking with German style, or is it going to start to kind of move and be a little bit more fluid with, I guess, the way that things are going right now with the New England IPAs and seltzers and ciders and things of that nature?
Yeah, so we'll stick to being a core German brewery. I want to keep at least 40% of our beers being German beer styles because, I like drinking them. Two, I like brewing them. I think they're a nice technical challenge for a brewer. And the customers who come here like drinking them as well. So if I just stop doing that, I would alienate a good part of the customers that are coming to this brewery for the last 5.5 years. So I'll definitely keep brewing German beer styles, especially the Hefeweizen, which is one of the best sellers here. So I'll keep going on that one. And last month, I already brewed a German Pilsner and a Doppelbock. So you should come and try ours that just become on tap this week. So I'll definitely keep brewing German beer styles, but as I don't like to limit myself as a brewer, so I'll go crazy on the other 60% of the taps. I have right now on the tank a West Coast style IPA and a New England style IPA, so I'll go both coasts. And I also have on tap exactly what I'm drinking, which is a Belgian triple. So I don't want to limit myself, and I will definitely brew Belgian, English beer styles, Brazilian beer styles, Argentinian beer styles, as well as some American beer styles as well.
Nice. Now, and in terms of, I guess talk to us about the process you went through in, going into wanting to buy a brewery, and really just to buy. I guess I'm kind of thinking with this brewery being a brewery that does a whole lot of German style beers, did that draw you to buying this particular brewery, or were there any other contenders that were out there, or like setting something up brand new from scratch? How did that go?
Well, so it's an interesting story. So actually, October 2018, I was doing a 2-week brewing course in Berlin, Germany, and I met there Romy Bailey, who is the former owner of Kitzingen Brewery. And we became friends at the time. At the time, I was still working my previous job as an engineer at a major US auto manufacturer. And we talked about me having a dream of owning a small brewery and running my own business. And then we kept talking. July of 2019, I quit my job at Ford and started working as a brewer at Aomania in Bonn. And then at the end of 2019, Ronnie started calling me and said he wanted to retire and if I was interested into buying the brewery here in Michigan. At that time, me and my wife, we had no plans on moving to the US. We were looking at different places to move around Europe, maybe Spain. And we were crunching some numbers and see how it would go, what was the best way to go. And then the offer came in. I mean, me and my wife were not strange to Michigan. We have traveled here several times on business for Ford. So I came here, I checked the place, I liked the place, we checked the numbers and the business made sense. So we said, okay, let's do it. So it wasn't like a planned decision. It was, I mean, we just go with the flow and right now we are here.
Right. That is awesome. Now, one thing I did see is that you are a certified Cicerone.
Yep.
And that there was some of the one of the trainings I think that it said that you did was sensory training and craft brewing in practice at the I guess the VLB in Berlin. I'm curious because obviously I've never taken any of the classes, but I guess. What is sensory training?
Okay, so So the first, the VOB in Berlin is one of the oldest research and teaching institutes for beer and beverage in Germany. Is not as old as Weihenstephan, but it's about 140 years old. And as I was thinking about transitioning from working as an engineer to working in the beer business, I thought maybe I'd get some education and a formal training, so I'm more qualified to doing what I want to do. And then they had this sensory training at the VOB. It's a 3-day sensory training, and what they do basically is they cover all the theory of sensory analysis, which is basically how you taste a beer for sensory analysis and sensory description. Because if you drink a beer and you just say, I like it, I don't like it, I mean, that's good input, but it doesn't help much for a brewer to actually troubleshoot the beer and see if he achieved the result he wants. So you kind of train how to dissect the flavor into different attributes and how to describe them, but also to identify some off flavors or flaws in a beer, so you know you did something technically wrong in the beer brewing process. So they covered all the theoretical part of that, but then there's a lot of practical work, like tasting samples that were spiked with off flavors, so you learn how to identify those off flavors. And that was nice. It was a 2-day long training plus 1 morning of testing and certification. And that helped me a lot later on when I took the certified Cicerone exam, because that exam as well has some sensory tests that you need to go through.
Wow, I almost feel like almost every craft drinker should have to take something of this sort.
Well, I think a lot of stuff most people can tell. I mean, if you take a glass of beer and you take it to your nose and you smell rotten eggs or fart or a stinky sock, you know there's something bad with that beer. So what changed between just a normal beer drinker and somebody who has a lot of training is the sensitivity to those kind of failures.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna pass it back to you, Ken.
So yeah, so what attracts you to, like, what beer styles are you attracted to now that you're here in Michigan? Like, are you gearing more away from, like, you like to brew those German styles and you like to brew those more European styles, but do you see yourself going towards drinking more American styles, like that, the West Coast, New England, the stuff that you more see prominently here?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always been a fan of American IPAs. I guess when I started home brewing about 10 years ago, I did it because I wanted to brew American IPAs. Actually, my first 3 brews as a home brewer were American IPAs. I love hop flavor. I love hoppy beers. So I'm definitely drinking more IPAs, and the difference in freshness and hop flavor we get here in the US versus beers everywhere else, it's amazing. Just because the brewers are so much closer to the hop growers, I mean, there's nothing like it. So if you look at my fridge right now, 90% of the beer there at home is definitely IPAs and New England style IPAs.
What's filling your fridge right now in New England and IPAs? What breweries?
Well, I have a last bottle of Hop Slam there. I bought a 24 bottle pack last week, well, 2 weeks ago. I worked myself through that slowly. And then I have some New Belgian at home, the New Belgian IPA and the Juicy and the New England style. Those are the 3 ones I have at home. And then I have some amber ale from New Belgium as well. I just bought a mix case from them. But as I have free access to the cold room here, the kegs and the tanks, I mean, that's a little bit. When I want to drink German styles, I just go to the tap and fill myself a glass.
It's harder to drink at home when you have an entire brewery to drink from. But
yeah.
That's true.
Dan, what question you got?
So you definitely piqued my interest. You were talking about wanting to brew Brazilian and Argentinian styles. at your brewery. That's something that's definitely not represented very well here, at least in our part of the world. Even where I'm at, you won't see anything like that. What kind of styles are we talking about? What are you looking to bring into the
Yes.
Northern Hemisphere as far as that goes?
So the two styles that I was talking about, the Brazilian one is Catarina Sour, which so both styles are in the JCP style guidelines. So Catarina Sour is in Brazil is a kettle sour, kind of like a Berliner Weisse, but a little bit stronger with fresh fruits on it. So it's a fruited Berliner Weisse, just a little bit different from what the North Americans have been doing. And then if I do that, I'll try to use Brazilian tropical fruits in it just to make sure I stay closer to style. So no cherries, nothing that's particular to North America, maybe something more tropical like pineapple, guava, or something like that. And then in Argentina, there are some, I think, Argentina IPA styles on BJCP as well that are brewed with Argentinian grown hops. If I can get my hand on those, I'll definitely brew a batch of Argentina IPA here.
That's awesome. And then Ken's definitely going to cut this part of the show out, I have a feeling, but I noticed you have a beer called DDay on tap at a German brewery. Like, what's the story behind that? Is that a friendly reminder, or
a beer called
what's DDay you have listed?
So,
yeah.
No, so the thing is, the theme of the brewery from the past, from the previous owner, because he is a U.S. veteran and he was stationed in Germany in the 1980s. There's a lot of things in the brewery right now that are Army related. So most of the legacy beer names, they are like DDay, Gum Bunny, Bouncing Betty, Harvey Barracks, which was the name of the place where he was stationed there. So DDay is a direct relation to DDay from Second World War. But as we start rebranding and bringing our own thing to the brewery, we'll steer away from the military theme and get different names to the beers.
Yeah, it's just an interesting name in I almost said Jewish, German brewery, to see a name like DDay, considering that's why it kind of caught my eye. So
yeah,
pretty interesting. But Wendy, you had some questions?
Yeah, so I'm curious then, if you're looking at rebranding, what type of theme are you going for? I know most breweries have their own thing. So tell us a little bit about what you want your brewery to be.
Yeah, so as I said, currently or until today, the brewery has been more like Bavarian, traditional Germany themed, with a focus on US military names for the beers and on the decoration. But since neither me or my wife have been in the US military or lived in the south of Germany, we're going to change to more like a modern Germany. So a multicultural, inclusive, welcoming Germany. And that's what Germany means for me. So it's less Bavaria, more Berlin, so open and inclusive and modern. So we're going to keep a German theme and a German name, but we're going to give a more modern look to it. And we're going to bring some Brazilian influences as well to the food menu, because we want to do a little bit of our own homeland thing. So it's going to be a mix. I hope people understand and like that.
That led right into my next question, because I've never had the opportunity to go to Brazil, but we've had a few exchange students at our home. From different areas in Brazil. So I'm absolutely in love with the country and want to go so bad. But when I was in Miami, I found a brewery that the owners were Brazilian, and they had a lot of different Brazilian influences in their brewery. Mm-hmm. And they had the Chopp. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
They had those, and I just thought it was amazing, because I never thought that beer that cold with that much foam would be as good as it was. But it was amazing. So I'm just wondering if you're going to try and do something like that at your brewery.
Well, not exactly that. So for you, those that don't know, Chopp, I mean, Brazil is one of the very few countries that has a unique name for beer on draft, and that's Chopp. And it's usually served ice cold and always with like an inch and a half of foam on top. But no, that's not one of the things that we'll be doing. We'll be doing some Brazilian appetizers like pão de queijo and torresmo and pastel. Pastel is like a deep fried dumpling. Pão de queijo is a cheese bread from Brazil. And torresmo is a deep fried pork belly. I mean, who doesn't like deep fry and pork belly in the same sentence, right? And then some specials of other Brazilian foods when we can get a hold of the ingredients.
Awesome. I can't.
Sure. Well, I think I had. I was curious of one thing. Well, another thing because obviously, while you were still in Germany, you were also doing beer tours.
Yeah.
It looked like it was in Cologne and Dusseldorf, focusing on, and listen to this, Ken, the history of Kolsch and alt beer.
The best
Did
beer.
Ken put you up to this?
You did not. But I'm curious now. It's like with being in the Grand Rapids area and all of the breweries that are there. Obviously, I know you have a brewery to run, but would you consider doing tours like that in the Grand Rapids area?
Yeah, so I'm glad you liked it. So I can show everybody I'm rocking my Cologne jersey here today, just for you guys. So yeah, that was actually my first gig in the beer industry. It was actually a friend's idea. He said, you know so much about beer, why don't you give beer tours? And then I started doing Kölsch and alt beer tours in Cologne and Dusseldorf, and it was super fun. So the idea running a business here in Grand Rapids is going to be a little bit difficult to go out with people and do tours, but I want to do something like that. I want to do something similar to what Guardian does in Saugatuck. Like those beer school days when you bring people in, you talk about the beer style, you tell about the history of the beer style, and then bring a couple of different breweries that make that beer style for people to taste and drink. So maybe not a walking experience like I did in Cologne and Dusseldorf, but more like a here experience to try to create the same. And nothing boring like a class experience, but I always try to make it fun and entertaining for people. So yeah, definitely the idea to do something similar, but not in the same format.
What is, you obviously I've seen, I'm friends with you on Facebook, that you've been able to kind of tour around the Michigan breweries. What have been some of your favorite spots to go to since you've landed here officially?
Well, so I did a couple of tours last year when I was here to check the business, and right now after we got here, well, right now not so much because of the current situation until last week. But I want to do something like sitting outside on an open area in Michigan winter for two Brazilians is not that nice. But with adding the two times that I was here, been to New Holland on Bridge Street, been to Jolly Pumpkin on Bridge Street. I was at the Mitten the other day, Gray Line, Railtown, Aylbird. Where else? I've been to Two Guys the other day. I've been to Guardian last Monday. I like what they do. What else?
Well, you mentioned Two Guys. They actually hopped on to our Twitch, which we're live on Twitch, twitch.tv/bod podcast. And they said, what's going on? It's a username, so I don't know who Zappy86 is, but it's obviously someone from Two Guys. So they said hello, and they're listening live. But that's great that you've been able to take advantage, especially in that area over in the Grand Rapids area. There's a lot of different breweries and a lot of different styles and love. And I know the next time that you come to, more the east side, and you're going to be, you won't probably be able to do too much travel until you get your brewery up running and hire someone to work for you instead of you serving the beers.
Oh, well, we always have Mondays off.
So you always have Mondays off.
Something like that.
So you'll have to find a brewery that's open on Mondays, and maybe that brewery might be North Center Brewing over in Northville, Michigan, just south of Baseline Road over on North Center Street. Go check them out. Say hi to Kevin and Cody. Grab some beer. They have a nice little heated patio and, of course, 25% occupancy. Just wanted to sneak that in there real quick. What has been, I guess, a lot of people talk about moving to other countries. I have a few friends who actually moved to Germany from America. But what has been like a struggle for you moving from Germany to the United States, other than no health care?
It's not political, Ken.
That's true. That's true, Dan. You're right. You're right, Dan.
Well, we knew where we were getting ourselves into regarding healthcare, so that was a conscious decision. But yes, that's definitely one of the negatives for moving in here. But talking about the positives, it's a lot easier to make friends here in the U.S. Germans are a lot more closed and reserved. They say that most Germans make their friends at school, high school, or primary school, and they have a close group of friends. So when you are a grown up and you start meeting people, they said, "Yeah, I don't have room for new friends now." So it's really hard to break the ice and make friends and have a nice social life in Germany. To give you an idea, most of our friends there were Brazilians. So we were hanging out in the Brazilian ghetto. I made good friends, but it wasn't the same thing. Here, we already have good friends. Most of the people we met at the brewery we consider our friends. We've been invited to their house, so this is definitely a positive and makes life a lot easier here in the U.S. But the other thing that is a little bit of a cultural shock for us is how much people in the U.S. like to talk. And don't take that negatively. It's a big difference for us from Germany. Brazil is very much like here. People like to talk a lot. They're very outgoing and like to express themselves verbally a lot. But then we move to Germany and people are very reserved on their words. They don't say much. When you are in a bar, 5, 10 people in a table, everybody waits for their time to talk. It's almost like they're in classroom raising their hands to talk. And then suddenly we're here and people are just piling up and talking to you. So a little bit of this more outgoing, talkative personality that's very common here was a shock for us in the beginning, but we're getting used to it.
I don't know if I could live in a country where I can't talk.
No, you can. It's just that not many people are going to talk back to you.
I'm one of those people, like when I go to a bar and if I'm, at a bar by myself, especially when I was doing a lot of traveling and I would go grab, beers and food at different breweries, I would pull up and talk to the person that's next to me. That's how I've met so many amazing people on my travels. Like that's how I got introduced to Wayne over at the Brews Brothers. I literally sat down next to him at 8 Degrees and we started shooting the shit about beer. And yeah, those are the kinds of things that like I don't think I could handle that kind of culture change. But I know Rob's got a question for you.
Yeah, I got a couple here. So I was thinking, just in terms of all of the styles of beer that are in Germany, I'm curious, what style is your favorite? I'm going to put you on the spot here on this one.
Well,
is there a favorite?
That's a real hard question because I'm a kind of guy that for me every beer style has its time and its place. But gun to the head, if I had to drink only one German beer style for the rest of my life, I would say it has to be Kush, just because it takes me back to Cologne. It takes me back to the experience of being in a Cologne Brauhaus and with our friends, drinking Kush and enjoying a nice time and having a nice time.
Now, with that style, and of course the breweries that we have here in Michigan that you visited, as far as judging a brewery's quality, is that going to be the beer that you would use to judge their style or judge their quality on?
Yes, definitely. I would definitely judge their skills and their quality by their Kush or by their German Pilsner, because I know not, I don't know of any here in the area, or I haven't had any Kush here in the area. But it's either the Kush or the Pilsner, because the beer is so delicate that any little detail gets noticed. So that's the one that I go to just to check how good they are.
The only Kolsch in that area that I could think of off the top of my head is going to be Full Circle from New Holland.
Mhm.
But the Pilsner itself, there's two that are produced and canned. That's Old Nations Pilsner and Pro Pils from Drafting Table, which I think both would be, I think, two solid renditions you would like on the Pilsner front. Travis obviously brewed in Germany as well. That's where I actually learned to brew. And then Drafting Table, Kristen and Aaron over there just make such a solid, crisp pills that it's one of those beers where when someone tries to describe what a true to style, amazing tasting pills, especially if Matt was on the show, one of the old hosts, Matt Bush, he's one of those like a Kolscher pills, no adjuncts. Like it needs to be a straight Kolscher pills, not like a pineapple Kolsch or a fruited pills. Um,
You know
what
the the only thing a German will mix with their Kölsch is Coca-Cola.
Kolsch and Coke?
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Never.
That's very common in Cologne. People walk to the bar and just order a Kölsch Cola, and that's half a glass of Kölsch, half a glass of Coke.
And this is, I mean, we're talking like Coke. I mean, Coca-Cola in Germany. I'm assuming this is going to be like cane sugar Coca-Cola, not the high fructose corn syrup stuff.
Yeah, well, probably, yeah.
Because I mean that's gonna make it. I guess I'm going to Mexican town. I'm gonna have to buy a couple bottles of some Mexican Coke and try this.
I hate to tell you, but Mexican Coke still has high fructose corn syrup.
Does it?
Yeah,
Glass bottles that come from Mexico.
you gotta really look at the ingredient list because somebody talked about it, where there was new rules in Mexico to allow for HFCS in Coca-Cola. So you have to look for I think Pepsi does the cane sugar Pepsi.
Yeah.
So you might, I know it's not Coke, but no, I've never heard of Coca-Cola at all in like a mixed cocktail or a mixed beer drink. Now we've not talked, but a lot of people would add ginger ale like a Werner's to their beer, or I'm trying to think of
Right?
like cider to a liquor. But Coca-Cola, that I feel like I'm gonna have to try that next week. Find
So,
myself a full circle.
so the common German mixes with beer, and that could be a Kölsch or Pilsner, is a Coca-Cola, Sprite, where they just want to make a Radler and the bar doesn't sell a Radler, they'll just do half a Sprite and half a Pilsner. And the other very common one is banana juice and a Hefeweizen.
Wow.
But I mean, the Hefeweizen already tastes like banana, doesn't it?
So they
I
all
don't even know where
complement
to get
each
banana
other. It's
juice.
really good.
I'm looking, and there is a brewery that makes a bottled version of a Kolsch and Cola called Zunft Black,
Yep.
from Erzkel Brewery Bielstein and Sietgol. Sure, I probably butchered all of that, but yeah, that is amazing. I'm gonna have to see if where I can get that. But no, that just blows my mind. Now, see, for me now, I'm gonna want to do, instead of Coke, I'd rather do like a cherry cola, mix in a
Yeah,
little bit of shit. I could do whatever, whatever.
We're
um,
drinking it.
you
yeah.
want to do if you want. Dr.
Well,
Pepper and
well,
Coke.
hold on. Are you gonna offer that over at your
Yes.
brewery now?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. I'll mix everything with beer on the glass if people.
I feel like if you sell it, people will try it and it will sell just because.
Well,
That's the kind of drink where I would show up and be like, that doesn't sound good. Give me a glass.
You could start a whole new trend here.
so the other day we had a customer here. She said she didn't like beer too much. I said I'm gonna try a couple of mixes for you. Let's see if I can find something you like. So I actually tried a pink lemonade and a Hefeweizen to see if she liked that, but I wasn't very successful.
I was
So
gonna say that sounds more like a Radler or a Shandy than.
yeah, it's
Um,
kind of like a shandy mix. So, but the idea, I mean, some people have this idea that Germany is a Reinheitsgebot, purity law. You can't mix anything with beer. But if you go to a bar in Germany, they mix everything. with beer there. So I'll try to bring a little bit of that here. Have banana juice to mix with the Hefeweizen. Do Radlers mix Coke or other stuff with their beers if they want, and just offer that.
Yeah, I was
Is
gonna say because that I mean, as far as the purity law, I thought because I mean it's not necessarily a loophole, but it's just kind of it's how you're supposed to make the beer, but it doesn't say anything about what you do with the beer after you're done.
Well, yeah, it is that, but it's also, I mean, you can mix whatever you want with beer. You just can't call it beer. Just to give you an idea, when was it? Last year, we made a milkshake IPA in Germany with passion fruit and mango, but we couldn't put beer on the label. We had to put beer mixed drink, but the customer doesn't care. They say, yeah, it's beer. I don't care about the label.
that sounds like it's just one of those like older laws that, um, because of X you have to do Y, but people just don't care about it anymore.
Yeah.
Because that was going to be my follow-up question is that, you talk about how the German beer drinkers, when they like the regular non craft beer drinkers, are gonna think American beer is Bud, Miller, Coors, but the craft beer drinkers know what American craft beer is. They know what an IPA is, a West Coast. They're a little bit more informative. Are you seeing? You said it's in its infancy, but were you seeing a boom of craft beer in Germany prior to you leaving, or did it
Oh,
kind of just? Oh yeah, okay. What
definitely.
what about
Just
the?
to just to give you an idea of a timeline. So when we moved there, March 2015, there was no craft beer bar in the city, and Cologne is 1 million people. It's like fourth biggest city in Germany. No craft beer bar. I had to Google and to find a store where I could buy craft beer for me to drink at home. I found a guy a store who sold craft beer, and I used to call him my dealer. He's my dealer. And then about end of 2016, the first multi-tap craft beer bar opened there. The first one opened end of 2016. They're now 4 years old. But now there are like 10 different bars in the city, different stores, a lot of people that were home brewers trying to start selling their own beers. So it's growing. It's definitely growing because especially the young crowd, the millennials, they know craft beer. They want to try different things. They don't mind paying more for drinking something that is different and unique. So it's definitely growing. And when
Well,
you talk, and that's just to give you an idea, sorry to interrupt
you're
you.
all right.
One of the barriers for craft beer in Germany, especially for the traditional drinkers, is price. You have to keep in mind if people buy a Pilsner in Germany, it's always a top quality Pilsner, but it costs 10 euros for a case of 20 bottles that are half a liter each. And half a liter is a little bit more than 16 ounces. So if you buy 20 16 ounces, that's 10 euros. If you buy a bottle of 12 ounces of craft beer, it's 3 euros. So the value is, it's hard to get somebody who's drinking something that is good, that they like, and just tell them, hey, try something new that costs 5 times more, but I'm not sure you're going to like it.
I think that's where in the United States, and especially we've seen over the last, we've been going through this craft beer boom for a while. When we started this show, we were under, I believe, 200 breweries in the state, and we're nearing 400 at the moment. Um, One of the things that I always looked for was singles, because as much as, you're talking 10 euro for a 20 pack, if I'm looking to buy a beer and I can't buy a single, I have to invest in a six pack. I might not be invested in that, especially at the price point that a lot of people. So that's why you're talking your dealer. The first thing that went in my head is Annette May at Merchants as my dealer when I would talk about beer within the industry and buying beer. Now you have over on your side of town Siciliano's, I believe. Rob, you can. Oh, he's shaking his head. So, which is probably one of the better beer stores out there.
He's
We have over on the east side Zaytuna Liquor over in Rochester Hills, just south of M59 on Rochester Road. Go check them out. Getting to those singles is important. That I don't mind investing even a premium on that single to know that if I like it, I'll go buy a 6 pack. But then I know you're gambling a lot less. But as we're kind of circling to the end, I'm going to kind of do a quick little circle, have everyone ask a final question, and then make sure that you promote where you're located, all your socials, and if you want to tell us the new name of the brewery. If you want breaking news, but that's okay if you don't. We understand. But Wendy, I'll start off with you.
So, what is it that you want us to take away from this interview about the brewery?
About our brewery?
Yep. What do you want us
Um,
to remember most?
is that we're gonna do a lot of traditional German beer styles, but with a little bit of a modern interpretation sometimes. But we're gonna keep being creative and open. But most important, and the biggest message that I want to tell people is that our brewery is gonna be open and welcoming for everybody. What we want is to create a place and an environment where people feel welcome and they can just come and have a good time with their friends. And
Awesome.
maybe I can give you, well, I'll show you in the end. I'll just create a little bit of anticipation here.
All right, Dan.
All right, this is non-beer related. Kind of wanted to make it fun, um, especially since you're Brazilian. So, what's your thoughts on Lionel Messi? I think he's a total choke artist, one of the biggest of all time. What are your thoughts?
No, I think he's one of the biggest of all times. I mean,
Or the
he
biggest choke artist?
no one of the
Because he never gets it done.
no, I think he's one of the biggest players of all time. He just struggled a lot when he's playing for the national team, national Argentinian team. If you compare him to Neymar, for example, Neymar is just a big faker. I mean, I can't stand the guy.
Oh wow.
And Messi, he's one of the biggest that's currently playing. So
Fair
I'll have
enough.
to disagree with you on that one.
All right. Well, after that soccer question, Rob.
Well, that was the thing. Was mine was basically going to be from football to football because my question was going to be who's going to win a championship first. Not you have to deal with the misery, the Detroit Lions or FC Cologne.
That's a very difficult question and a very difficult gamble. Well, knowing the Lions curse has been going on for more than 50 years, and Cologne, sometimes they have a good season and they finish sixth or fifth in the Bundesliga. I would say Cologne. So that's how much I know the Lions.
Good answer.
All right. Well, my final question is your choice to answer, not what's going to be the name of the new brewery.
Okay, so actually there was a last minute change to the name because I've been pitching the new name to a lot of our regular customers here, and they struggle a little bit saying the German word for brewery, which is Brauerei, just because of the rolling R's. So we decided to change from Kultur Brewery, Brauerei to Culture Brewery.
Okay.
I like
And
it.
There we go with
And-
a little bit of logo.
yeah, so the Kultur is culture. So we are brewing culture. The idea is to create cultural experiences through beer and food for our guests. And the thing that I like the most about the logo is the little detail on the bottom. We have the Berlin bear there. We have a white and a black bear trading a black and white beers. And that's
Nice.
just to say we want everybody to come together here.
That is a great way to end the show. appreciate so much you coming on the show. Obviously, you can follow them on Instagram right now, which is Kitzingen Brewery. It's on the video. You can watch the video live on youtube.com/betterondraft, facebook.com/betterondraft. Of course, you can watch us live, betterondraft.tv, Friday, 7 p.m. We will be back next week with Modern Times Coffee. Not Modern Times Coffee, Modern Times Brewery. Woo! That's going to do it. Better on Draft. Go check out the brewery over in Wyoming. We found out, by the way, it was Andy from Two Guys who was listening to us. So he says cheers. We say cheers back to you, Andy. If you want to come on the show, shoot us a message. betterondraft@gmail.com. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Peace.